Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting episode of Mythic Banter. We are back with another week chock full of topics to talk about. How are you doing, Accolonn, sir?
I am doing fantastic, sir. Fantastic. It's been an absolute glorious week for me.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's not been a glorious week for my country, but it has been a glorious week for me. Which is,
it's like all these bad things that are happening in my country are actually really good for my YouTube channel. Is that where we're going?
Yeah, I mean, they work. No, it's not even that it's good for my YouTube channel, although it has been incredible for my YouTube channel. But it's more a case of the communists are getting their asses kicked in South Africa, and that's beautiful to me.
Okay.
Right? Every single time a communist loses, that's great. So yeah, Donald Trump has absolutely been laying into my country.
Has he?
And I'm just here for it.
What's he doing over there in Africa? Wait, no, like the short version.
South Africa has continuously over the last 30 years taken severe advantage of the United States. And every single time we take the money of the United States, but we continuously side with the enemies of the United States.
Good old corruption. We love that.
Oh, yeah. Well, we do the same with the Europeans, by the way.
Yeah,
the Europeans give us money, we side with their enemies every single time.
So wait, do I get to do the thing that the Brazilians do to me all the time, which is like the Brazilians always come up to me and go like, "Rui, devolve nosso ouro," which basically means give us back our gold, because my ancestors went over to Brazil, stole a bunch of like minerals and shit like that, and just ripped them off.
Mm-hmm.
And now every Brazilian person I meet, they always ask me for the gold back, and I'm like, bro, I don't have it. Like, you understand those same people that robbed from you are still robbing from me, right? They're like,
yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
You should be glad that you're no longer suffering under these fools. But no, I mean, so yeah, we do the same. I mean, my country is openly aligned with Iran, right? Openly aligned with terrorist organizations around the world, working very closely with groups
reasonable.
like Hamas. And so my country is an enemy of the West. Make no mistake about it. But Donald Trump has been calling this out for the better part of like 20 years. He's been talking about how South Africa is taking advantage of the United States. And now that has just ramped up. So this followed the G20 that was just held, where all the world leaders arrived. Well, not all of them, about 6 didn't come to South Africa. But Donald Trump boycotted the G20. And after some back and forth between my country and the United States, Donald Trump has now threatened to effectively remove South Africa from every single international organization. So he's going to isolate South Africa now, which, of course, the communists in my country is going, he shouldn't try to bully us. And I'm like, okay, let's just do the math here. If Donald Trump goes to the UK or to Europe and says, hey, boys, choose. You can either do business with America or you can do business with South Africa, but you cannot do both.
He definitely has.
Who
leverage.
are they choosing, right? No one is coming to a country that has an economy smaller than Maryland, right? We don't even have an economy the size of most states in the United States, let alone equal to the United States as a whole. So, yeah.
The worst thing is my rudimentary understanding of geography. Technically speaking, you guys would have like tons of really good natural resources. But
we have tons, yeah.
Yeah, but you guys have also a really bad economy. And this I know because I remember that my father used to do business in different countries in Africa, because people that don't know, like, Africa is fucking massive. So it's like, when you're talking about Africa, and I was like, oh yeah, Africa, that place, like, no, there's like a zillion different cultures throughout Africa. But basically in most places that my father ever did business, whenever he would have like shipments come in for like, projects and stuff that he was working on over there, he would always knew that there would be a tax that he would have to pay the harbor master, which is just like, he had to grease the, because otherwise shit, like I remember the first time that he was caught off guard, because like, they basically asked him for a bribe, And he was just like, no, I'm not going to. The shit was held up for like a week. And then he paid the bribe. And then the shit came out the next day. So it's like, like people think that, oh, wait, it's not that bad. It's like, no, you have no idea, bro. You have no world experience. Shut the fuck up. It's like, it's really bad.
I'll give you an example of how it works there, right? So I once bought 3 pairs of pants from Amazon, right? Now, if I buy from Amazon, it has the shipping costs, and then it also has the import duties and tariffs that I have to pay upfront. Then it takes about 4 months for these pants to arrive. When they finally arrive, I get a bill from the South African government that says I owe them 2,000 Rand in order for them to release the pants.
Yep.
I already paid the import duties, but now I have to pay more import duties because why not? So that is South Africa in a nutshell.
That's the government already, like, they're basically working as the middleman between you and the harbor master. They're like, oh yeah, remember, we got to grease the palms of the harbor master, so you have to grease our palms. And we still, because there's also some work involved in us greasing the palms of the harbor master, we also take a little bit of a cut of that as well. And we were just officializing the whole process. It's just legal bribes.
Dude, you have no idea. I think Europeans, so just to speak about the size thing for 2 seconds, South Africa alone as a country is more than half the size of the whole of Western Europe. Yeah. Just so that people understand size-wise what we're talking about here. It is a country that has the potential. Yeah.
The basically when you say South Africa, again, my geography is not amazing, but when you say South Africa, it's not like, okay, so we split Africa in half. There's the north, there's the south. It's like, no. South Africa is much smaller than that, right?
Yeah, so you have sub-Saharan Africa, which is considered to be the south of Africa, right? You have the sub-Saharan desert, then you have the sub-Saharan Africa, which is below the Saharan desert, and then you have North Africa, which is above it. South Africa is the tiny little southernmost piece of Africa.
The only reason I'm saying this is because I know that our education system is ass worldwide, and therefore I have to assume that a lot of people hear South Africa and they think like, oh, so you split Africa in half and it's the bottom. It's like, no, it's a small piece of the bottom part.
There's dozens of countries that fall into the southern part of Africa.
Yeah.
And then you have South Africa right here at the bottom.
And that was the geography lesson with Rurikhan and Accolonn.
Yeah. It's a massive country, more than, I think, 12 different cultures that exist within it, more different than you can ever imagine. But just to give you guys a sense of what corruption looks like here in South Africa, just the other day, they found a 2 billion Rand corruption scandal at Tembisa Hospital. And this isn't even the biggest corruption scandal we've had. It's just the biggest one we've had this year.
Put that into
2 billion
regular
Rand.
Folks' money.
2 billion Rand would be, let's say around, I don't even know, 100 million euro, something to that effect, like 100 million euro scandal. But effectively, what it was for about 4 years, this hospital was building stuff and buying stuff, but not building or buying anything.
Did you say 100 million euro?
Yeah, I think it's something like 100 million euros or something. It's 2 billion Rand.
It's 100 million euro, 570,000. Actually, really good.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And there were 4 guys who they were just paying insane amounts of money for services provided, yet no services were provided whatsoever. And people were dying as a result of no services being delivered. Like oxygen machines that were supposed to be delivered, they paid the money, but the oxygen machines never actually got delivered. This stuff just happens. This is just a regular occurrence in South Africa. And what makes it worse, there's people in the cabinet that's involved. Like literally in the cabinet that's involved. And the only thing that ever happens to these people who are involved in these scandals is they get sent on what we call in South Africa garden leave. They still get paid their salary. They're just no longer ministers. And then they just stay there for like years. So
That is so incredibly familiar. But let's get on to some gaming topics, bro. It's
all right. Yeah. Okay, so we have to talk first and foremost. Massively good news. Before we get into all of the bad crap that's happening, we just very quickly massive shout out and well deserved Sandfall Interactive, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 matches Baldur's Gate 3's record-setting run at the 2025 Golden Joystick Awards.
You'll love to friggin' see it.
Yep, and it is currently the most nominated game, I believe, of the Game Awards ever. At least I've seen some posts and reports about that. It has 11 nominations.
You know what I find interesting? There's a bunch of people that are upset about this. I've seen them on Twitter. I'm just like, man, it must be so fucking miserable to be like that. Because I've only played. I was actually checking the other day. I think I played about 12 hours of Expedition 33. The reason I haven't played more, I've explained, is because time constraints outside of streaming, and streaming wasn't particularly good in my channel when I was doing that. So that's the reason why I haven't played more, because I want to play more. But I find it interesting that there's a bunch of people that see a game that is actually good being celebrated, and they're just like mad. Like, yeah, this game shouldn't be celebrated. It's slop. I've seen people say that basically, they have that meme where it's a controller with just one button, which is X. And then they go like, man, this game plays fire. And I already know that, so you didn't play the game. You just have no fucking clue whatsoever what you're saying because you're a moron. I just find it interesting to see people have meltdowns online.
Yeah.
Over the fact that Clair Obscur is as successful as it is.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, but it reminds me of when people had their meltdowns over Death Stranding 1, calling it a walking simulator. And as soon as I started playing it, I was like, so you didn't play the game, right? If you think this is a walking simulator, you clearly didn't play it. But it's sort of... So this is where things sort of become... A weird mesh, right? Because I do the same thing when, for example, the mainstream media is praising Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Let's talk about my favorite game for a second. And I trash them for celebrating it. And I'm bringing this up because some people will say, "But wait a second, Stefan, do you not do exactly the same thing with the mainstream media?" And to that, I would say, if a game, right, launches and a lot of people are trashing it, and the game is super successful, it is legitimately selling millions of copies, not just millions of players, but it's actually selling millions of copies, and the game is successful, on every single metric, this is a successful game. If you then have a group of people telling you that this is a bad game, it would be prudent of you to question yourself if you're part of that group.
It's just... The way that I look at it is much simpler than that. It's like, the difference is Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a good game.
Yeah, but I mean, some people love Dragon Age: The Veilguard, right? And their argument would be the difference is it's a good game.
Them loving it doesn't make it a good game, and I know because I did literally everything there was to do in that game.
Yeah, but so, the point I'm making is that I think the reason why it's difficult to oversimplify it in that way is a lot of games is subjective, right? So, someone who likes Veilguard, they might genuinely like it, right? They might not just be a woke Andy that thinks that, the game is great because they have to think it's great. That doesn't make
the game good. The game is mediocre.
But that's why
and by the way, I'm not saying it's bad. Yeah? I'm saying it's mediocre.
No, I know. But that's why I said, from my perspective, the thing that you have to always keep in mind is the fact that if a game, right, is being criticized by a group of people and the game fails to actually make any sort of inroads and you love the game, it might be time for you to go, well, I liked it, but I can see that there's a lot of people who didn't like it, so maybe it isn't as good. But if the game is wildly celebrated by everyone, right, and then suddenly you're part of this small minority that goes, oh, the game is just hitting X, it might be time for you to question your own position. Because No one
No.
would have liked it if the only thing you were doing in that game was just pressing X, right? And in that case, you can say, I've met someone who said they can see that Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a great game. It's just not their type of game. They don't like games like that. And that's fair, right? That's absolutely fair. It's not meant for everyone. But to say that it's an objectively bad game, given all of the evidence that it really isn't, that is just you being an ideologically captured moron, right?
It's rough.
What I love about this, and the reason this is so exciting to me, is hopefully this signals to a lot of people in the industry, make the game that you want to play. Because that's where all of the greatest games in the history of the world came from. I'm going back to Warcraft. If you guys don't believe me, go watch, I believe it was the 20th or the 15th anniversary of Warcraft, where they spoke to Mike Morhaime, and they spoke to Chris Mason, and they sort of spoke about what was it? Like, what motivated you to make World of Warcraft? And this was their genuine response. As we were playing Warcraft, we kept saying, what would it be like to be in this world? To actually be like, not a champion, not like Arthas, but to be one of the peons. You know, one of the grunts. What would that be like? And so they set off and they made that game. And anyone that's ever played like vanilla, TBC, and Wrath, you were just a grunt, right? You were just one of those little units that you were made, and you were made to die in order to fight the evil stuff in the game. And that's why it worked so well. So hopefully there's a return of that, right? Hopefully studios can go back to
making the games that they actually want, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, so from celebrating a game to very quickly brushing up on Ghost of Yotei, right?
Man, we're talking about your two favorite games today, man, and one of them you haven't even played.
Yeah, like, dude, it's Gold Boss Mayhem, and as you know, I'm a huge fan of Gold Bosses. It's my absolute favorite. Well, sorry, excuse me. It's non-binary bosses and Gold Bosses, which is my favorite thing in the whole world. But Ghost of Yotei had a developer. For those of you who don't remember, we covered it on this podcast. That after the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, this developer were one of the lefties that celebrated it on social media, absolutely glorifying and basking in the glory of his death. Rightfully, there was massive outcry from all ordinary, decent human beings who said, what the hell is this? And so the developer was fired, and that was the end of it. But Rurikhan, you recently became aware that this developer is baffled. What happened there?
She just said that at no point she did an interview with Aftermath, which I don't know who they are, but there was like this news that popped up where she said at no point did anyone in PlayStation ask her to remove the offending post or to apologize.
And that's the defense. That's the justification.
So I guess she feels like it was unwarranted that she got fired because she never even got a warning for celebrating someone's death.
This reminds me of toddlers.
It's just
no one told me it was wrong. It's like, well, it is wrong to break all the windows in the house. Like, you don't need someone telling you this. It is just wrong.
But see, this is where I've been saying this for ages, which is our education system has grossly failed us. And the education system, or I don't know, education system, parenting, whatever you want to call it, has grossly failed this person because she doesn't understand that there are certain things that you just shouldn't say because it's fucked up. But
well, in this instance, I wouldn't. I agree with you. Education systems have failed across the world, But in this instance, it is a parenting problem, but then also the ideological end result of what has been happening for so long. We have, for the last 20 years, we've had this approach in the West, very specifically, of basically saying that it is okay to punch a Nazi, you can kill a Nazi. Now, most people will say, well, yeah, Nazis are really bad. Well, that is only if we can agree on what your classification of a Nazi is. See, and that's where it all breaks down. You will find no people who will disagree with you when you say we should literally punch Hitler. All people will be like, yeah, we should actually punch Hitler. Because we know who Hitler was, we know what he did, and we go, yeah, that was a really bad guy. The issue here is that what you guys have done on the left, not you, obviously, Rurikhan, but what the left has done more broadly is they have painted everyone that they disagree with as a Nazi. Now, what this has done is it has completely removed the human aspect of the other side, right? So from this person's perspective, I'm not even that surprised that no one asked me to apologize. You see, because the normal emotional response that humans would have here is that you can't joke about another person's death. But what's wrong when you're joking about an evil Nazi's death? Like that's not wrong. This isn't a fellow human being. This is an enemy that deserves death. Right? And so this dehumanization has some severe consequences, and there are multiple studies into genocide that show that, right? When you get to this level of dehumanization of the other side, genocide is usually not that far off before it happens. And so, this developer, in my opinion, this just reveals how disgustingly evil they actually are. And also how childish they are.
The way that I usually look at things like this, even when it's with people that I happen not to like for whatever reason, is usually I try to take the approach of do unto others. Right? Isn't that like something in the Bible or something like that? I don't know.
That Jesus said, do unto others as you would like done unto you.
That's usually the way that I look at things. So it's like somebody that I don't like died, and that fucking sucks. It's I'm just gonna shut the fuck up. That's usually the way that I go about it or whatever. But these people just feel like it's normal to pop off, and I'm not defending it. I'm not condoning it. It's none of my goddamn business the way that I look at it, because I don't do politics stuff, but I think it's really fucking dumb when you do decide to engage in this and then you go like, nobody told me I couldn't do this. It's almost like you would see somebody bleed out on the street, but you'd be like, yeah, but this person insulted me last week. Fuck him. Let him die in the middle of the street. Just like bleeding out. Like, this is too bad. And then you just walk past, and it's like, nobody told me I needed to call 911. None of my business. I don't know. It's fucked up. It's like the lack of empathy is absolutely ridiculous. But it is what it is.
I mean, the whole principle of the do unto others it also boils down. It comes from the same place. Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. Right? It's the single biggest principle in Christianity is love, and we should love each other. Of course, that's been so morphed and destroyed because these days love means don't offend, which is not what love means at all. But anyways, the point more here is remember the full statement: do unto others as you would want done unto you. But if I don't view you as a person, right? Love thy neighbor as you love thyself. If I don't view you as my neighbor, if I don't view you as a fellow human being, then I am not asked to love you, right? I'm not asked to do unto you as I would do unto myself, because you are vermin. You are less than. A great, I remember this, I was watching this interview with, you remember the guy who played Hans Landa in Inglourious Bastards?
Yes.
Phenomenal actor, right? Yeah. And he was asked in an interview, what was it like playing this evil? Like what was that like? And he sat there and he looked at the interviewer for a bit, but you could see he was like super confused. And he's like, and the guy picked up that he was confused, and he's like, well, playing that level of evil must have been hard. And Hans Lander looked at him again and he said, but he wasn't evil. Because from his perspective, he's killing rodents. He's killing vermin. He's not killing humans, right? From his perspective, he is not evil. What he's doing is good. He's saving Germany. And that's sort of, the problem here. But anyways, so yeah, I just wanted to... The reference itself is often called the Golden Rule. It comes from Matthew 7:12 and Luke 6:31.
The guy's name is Christoph Waltz, by the way, because I was blanking out on...
There you go.
Christoph Waltz.
Yeah, I could also
actor.
not... I could not remember his name, but I do remember the character that he played, which
Hans
is just,
Landa.
it's such... Hans Landa, but then also his role in... that slave movie, man.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Django Unchained.
Dude's
Django Unchained.
amazing, dude.
Yeah, he's just such a good actor, man. But anyway, so the Ghost of Yotei, Dave, actually just reminds me of something else that I sort of just quickly wanted to talk about, and that is this incessant pandemic that we have in the gaming industry of developers just refusing to take responsibility for their failures. Because that's all this really is, right? Is you made a joke about a guy being shot and killed, right? Assassinated. This is terrible. No one should laugh about it. You made a joke about it. You got fired for that joke, which even the most staunch protectors of free speech, like myself, was like, yeah, that's the only justified response. You get fired because that's not free speech.
I still
joking about someone's death is not free speech.
Here's the thing. I think that is free speech.
Yeah.
She's totally allowed to say it. But as it's been said multiple times, freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence. So you are free to say whatever the fuck you want. You're not free of the consequences that come with the things that you say, because you're still responsible for the things that you say. And this is something
I agree with you.
That I am struggling to teach my 10-year-old, but it's gonna get there. Sooner or later, he's going to get the point, because sometimes he says some fucking heinous shit, and I'm just like, no, you don't get to just fucking say that without any consequence. So whenever he says something bad, there's a consequence. It's like, oh, less screen time for you today, or no screen time for you today, or I'm taking away your console, or whatever. But there's always consequences for saying fucked up shit. You're allowed to say it, but then you're also punished for saying it.
So I agree with you that technically that does form part of free speech, but legally it doesn't, right? So we have all sorts of restrictions on free speech, and most of them, I would say, are common sense restrictions, right? So you can't stand outside a guy's house and tell a mob, go kill that guy.
Yeah,
right?
That's you're not allowed to do that because that is incitement to violence. So that is not protected under free speech.
Technically, that is just speech, and you should be free to speak it. But we do say, hold on.
No,
right?
But
we do say, hold on, you can't do that.
But what I'm saying
That's
is,
insane.
Making fun of somebody dying, that is legal. You're allowed to do that. It has consequences, but social consequences, but it is legal. However, inciting somebody to kill somebody else, that's illegal.
Yeah. No. But the point I'm making is, right, while I agree with you that it
illegal
is
in certain
speech,
countries, it's probably not illegal everywhere.
Yeah, well, a lot of countries are, a lot of countries don't have a lot of free speech. So I agree with you that it is free speech, right? And the government can't lock you up for it. So technically it is legally protected speech. But we always have sort of two sets of rules around speech, right? We have the legal free speech, so what the government will and will not allow. And then we have societal free speech, so what society will and will not allow. And in this instance, we have pretty much, every single one of us grew up with this. You don't point and laugh at someone who just got really hurt.
Yeah.
Right? If someone just fell out of a tree and broke their arm, you don't point and laugh. That's just society just shuns that kind of behavior. And so, in my opinion, so I misspoke earlier when I said it's free speech, but it's not legally free speech. I meant the opposite way. it's legal free speech, but it's not free
Accepted.
speech, right? Yeah, you don't get. Actually, that's a better word. It's not acceptable speech.
Yes.
And so you can't claim, well, I was just freely speaking. No, you weren't. You were breaking countless societal
but listen,
structure.
Nobody told you to remove the tweet. Not Sony, not anybody nobody told you to remove it. Nobody even asked you to apologize. You're completely entitled to do whatever the fuck you want. But there are consequences.
Yeah, you're also not allowed to work here.
Yeah, exactly.
If that's what you want to say.
You're allowed to do that, and you're allowed to get fired.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
But it's just part of a greater pandemic, right? Of game developers who just refuse to take responsibility for the failures of their games. It's always some other big bad boogeyman. The game fails because the hate mobs.
I think all
games have hate mobs, and some of them succeed perfectly well, even with the hate mobs. So
I think the point that you're getting, like another good example of this happening, was the creative director or whatever from Avowed. Which, by the way, I don't know how good Avowed it is. I haven't played it. I was actually interested in playing it, but it came out at the same time that I was covering something else, so I wasn't able to do it. It's still on my wish list. Eventually, when it's deep discount, I'll probably pick it up, check it out. But what happened was, this person, who is in a senior position at the company in this case, decided that, like, I'm going to go pick a fight with Elon Musk. And it's like, listen, you cannot like Elon Musk. You cannot like, a zillion different people. Why do you want to antagonize this person, pick a fight with them when they have a massive following, and you know that is going to affect the sales performance of your game? It's just a stupid thing to do, regardless if you're right, by the way. I'm not arguing whether the guy is right or wrong. I don't care. It's just a dumb thing to do. And yes, it is your fault that the game did poorer than it would have done if you had just kept your big mouth shut. Yes, absolutely.
I mean, the game failed. They claim that, it was a success because we have, I think 3 million players or something. And it's like, don't bullshit. Don't try to bullshit this. But anyways, there is some return to normalcy that is starting to happen. Jennifer, what's her name? The girl from Hunger Games?
Jennifer Lawrence?
Jennifer Lawrence, that's the one. Yeah. Jennifer Lawrence was recently asked in an interview why she suddenly started keeping quiet about Donald Trump. Why she's no longer tweeting about Donald Trump as much. Because during Trump's first presidency, she was like, he's the biggest threat to America. He's going to destroy America and all the rest of it. And she legitimately said, why would I think it's become clear that celebrities no longer hold any power over who gets elected and who doesn't. So why would I antagonize at least 50% of my potential audience for a useless cause? And I was like, thank you. Thank you. Just shut the hell up and dance, monkey, dance. No one gives a crap about your opinions. Just do your movies and shut up, right? And that's all you need to do. Make your video game and understand that at least 50% of your potential players don't agree with you politically, regardless of what your political views are, by the way. If you're a super conservative, at least 50% of your player base isn't agreeing.
It's going to be,
So just keep quiet about your views. A lot of content creators do this, by the way. Like, you have a ton of content creators who
like
purposefully remain as... No, I'm actually talking about... Because I know you just don't really care about politics in general.
That's true. I also don't care.
Yeah. I know quite a few commentators who I know for a fact are conservative, but they will never say it. And when they cover stuff, they will always be just middle of the road. No political affiliation whatsoever. Why? Because at least 50% of your audience isn't conservative, right? And so why would you alienate? I'm the only one that I have way too big a mouth, so even in World of Warcraft, I would be trashing the commies left, right, and center, and World of Warcraft has like a massive communist player base. So, I was just one of those people who just said, well, screw it, I'll just do whatever. But yeah, you have to keep that in mind, right? You have to keep in mind that your audience.
There was a Michael Jordan thing about that in the past, where I think they
about
wanted
his
him
shoes.
to endorse. They wanted him to endorse a Democrat candidate or whatever, and he's like, "Republicans buy shoes too."
Buy shoes too.
I'm not. Yeah.
Just shut the hell up and sell your crap. So yeah, I think the allergic reaction to responsibility needs to end. Take responsibility for your actions. Take responsibility for your game failures, and move the hell on. Speaking of responsibility, and actually probably one of the wildest things, like, just to be clear, guys, I think me and Rurikhan have different angles to this following story. But just before we started, Rurikhan said like one sentence that the CEO of this company said. And I was just like, I don't even know anything else he said. But
Bro's
I
was
was
genius.
just like,
I'm gonna read from the article when the time comes. So bring your point first. Let's go.
All right, so Roblox is in the news, and Roblox has been revealed to be an absolute cesspool. Now, before we even get going, I need to tell you about this, because this was actually just mind-breaking. I don't know if you know who Sean Ryan is.
Sean Ryan. He does podcasts, right?
Yeah, he's a podcaster. And he was recently, literally 6 days ago, he had an interview with Ryan Montgomery. This is his second or his third time, I think, that he's spoken to Ryan. It's always super interesting because Ryan is an ethical hacker.
He's a former intelligence officer, right? Or military.
I think Sean Ryan is former intelligence. I'm not sure about Ryan Montgomery. I missed the beginning part of the podcast where he actually says what he is and what he does. But I know he's an ethical hacker. So I've watched the big part of the podcast already. And he infiltrates a lot of stuff. Let me just quickly tell you one of the craziest things I've ever heard. And it sort of gives you an idea of the kind of stuff that's happening on Roblox as well. So he revealed, OnlyFans, right?
Yes.
And OnlyFans is for adults. You have to be 18 years of age in order to do
stuff. Yeah, I have like 20 subscriptions on there. I watch Pokemon's feet all the time. Yeah.
Nice. 100%. So here's the big thing. OnlyFans is for adults. You already know the next words that are coming out of my mouth. There is a service which may or may not in some ways be tied to OnlyFans, but at least the agencies that basically represent the models, they represent models on both of these sites. The other site is a site, I don't even want to say the name because I don't want to give them any, but it has a name. You have to be 13 years or older in order to create an account on this site to create videos and content. And you have to be 18 years or older in order to consume said content. And they have a policy on the site that you can post one revealing picture, so naked or otherwise, and then 2 normal pictures. So for every revealing picture, you have to post 2 normal pictures. Sexy, but for kids. And the government of Texas raided a house called the Bob House in Texas, where a bunch of these OnlyFans models were living. And one of the girls there was a creator for this kid site that was waiting to become a creator on OnlyFans. They were literally just waiting for her to turn 18 so that they could. And what's worse,
wait, I haven't heard of this. I haven't heard of this website. So you're basically talking about a website that is funneling children into OnlyFans?
It's a website that already allows for PDF files to watch children, and then once these children become 18, they're too old for this other site, and now they're funneled to OnlyFans, where they can continue their journeys as porn stars. And this entire cesspool gets made even worse when you realize that the vast majority of girls and kids on this other site are there with the full permission and profit of their parents. Their parents are signing them up to this website and profiting off of it. Now, you're a parent. I'm not even a parent. but I was disgusted when I heard this. Right, the idea that you would use your children and exploit your children in this way was just like it was beyond the pale. But so this guy also infiltrates Roblox, and he's actually one of the voices behind the big stuff that's been coming out about Roblox. And I say one of the voices because it's been ethical hackers that's been infiltrating Roblox and basically revealing the PDF file stuff, the pornography stuff, the stuff that, because most parents just give their kids a PC and say, go nuts, right? It's Roblox. It's a game for kids. And Roblox very specifically markets their game for children. They make sure that all the marketing appeals to kids.
Let me just point something out, because this is something that all parents need to be aware of, but unfortunately the parents that need to hear this thing will never hear it because they don't fucking care about their children. It's like whenever you allow your child to get on Roblox because you're like, well, I think it's fine. What you're actually doing is you're fucking things up for every other parent that doesn't want. Like, you have no idea how many arguments I've had with my kid because I don't let him onto Roblox because all of my friends are on there. And I was like, well, I'm sorry your parents don't give a shit about your friends, but, you know, I do. Yeah. So therefore, I will have to be the bad guy now. So thank you for all the parents that allow their kids to get on Roblox, often unsupervised. Thank you very much for making it worse for everybody else.
Not to mention the fact that if you are a parent that allows your kid on Roblox, you have to ask yourself some serious questions. Like, even if you want to make the argument, well, I control exactly what they're allowed to do on Roblox, you don't control what anyone else is allowed to do on Roblox. And your kid isn't going to come to you and talk to you because these predators know exactly how to choose who they approach.
And that's the saddest part of all of this. With the advent of ChatGPT, they can, you know, they now have a language model that can train and obviously can trick these kids into doing God knows what.
No, yeah. So it is just it's a terrible idea. Roblox should die. But okay, so you read an actual article about an interview with the CEO after. I'm assuming it's not just this that came out. It's like all sorts of stuff.
You haven't made the point yet, though. You just said that the dudes infiltrated Roblox, and then that was it. You haven't actually made the point of what he found there.
So I don't know what your article is about, so I can't reveal that. I just know what Ryan Montgomery and them found, and it is effectively.
What did they find?
Well, it's effectively stuff that would get us instantly demonetized, right? And you can sort of use your own mind. But it's effectively a lot of PDF filing, a lot of exploitation. I believe there's even some kind of trafficking stuff that they found, at least things that point to potential trafficking of some kind. So Roblox is effectively like the dark web for people who are too stupid to get on the dark web. That's effectively Roblox.
The CEO, Dave Baszucki, was interviewed recently by Ben Sledge from PC Game Zen, and he was actually briefed on what the interview was going to be about, which it was going to be about child safety and all of this stuff. And basically, I'm just going to read a part of the article, and I'm now quoting. For those who don't know, Roblox is currently facing a lawsuit in Texas for putting pixel PDF files and profits over the safety of Texas children, and they have been accused of similar transgressions in the past. This comes shortly after a watchdog group, Common Sense Media, said that children are vulnerable to inappropriate content on the platform, including sexual and then acist, phobic, and emetic images or game. Like, I'm sorry, all of these things will instantly get us demonetized on YouTube. So just picture some of the worst possible things that a child can be, privy to, basically.
Yeah.
All of this, images or games. So all of these things are happening in these games. Reports also suggest that it is adding virtual dating features for over 21s. But Baszucki sees it differently. We think of it not necessarily just as a problem, but as an opportunity as well, he says on the podcast. How do we allow people to build, communicate, and hang out together? So I want you to pay attention to this. The dude's point is, well, yes, this is an opportunity. All of these bad things are happening in the platform. We're going to be able to train all of these tools to be able to detect all of these problems. It's like, that's great, bro. This shit's been happening for years on your goddamn platform, and it's still happening. I guess the training's not working out all that well.
What's insane to me is, first and foremost, I get the immediate thing where, for example, the CIA and all of these organizations will usually not shut down child sex trafficking rings and stuff like that because, well, it's easy if you know where the ring is to find all the players, right? And you can sort of catch them as they're doing their thing. Whereas if you shut down the ring, you have to go locate the new ring somewhere else. So I get the sentiment here. But now is not the time to put a positive spin on it, bro. Hey,
no,
you know, oh yeah, kids are being exploited, but think of the upside. Think of the potential business engagements that we can have here. It's like, bro, no.
here's the other part. Then the Roblox CEO also bragged about getting calls from famous parents who told them that their kids would be dead if it weren't for Roblox. And it's like, listen, if a child would die because they didn't have Roblox, that's just another incentive for me to go like, they definitely don't need Roblox. That's like a junkie going like, bro, I'll die without another hit of cocaine. I need another hit of cocaine. What do you mean? It's like, bro, this person is absolutely insane. And by the way, this is the person who is the CEO of this game.
Of Roblox.
And this, and by the way,
I would say,
people are like, well, how big is Roblox actually? It is the biggest one. It is literally the biggest game.
Yeah. There's no comparison. Nothing even comes close.
Exactly. Like,
Minecraft
to give you an idea
by this game.
Of how big it is, like one of the most successful games I think this year was a minigame that was created in Roblox in 3 days by a 16-year-old. That was one of the most viral video games of 2025.
Yeah, okay? Roblox is massive. But I would just like to point out that if your kid would literally be dead if it wasn't for a game, what does that say about you as a parent?
Yeah.
Hey, that's not good, right? That's not good. You should be the one keeping your kids alive, not some random video game. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
My kids don't play Roblox. They're still alive. I know. It's shocking. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think at this point, genuinely, Roblox should just be shut down.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any saving it at this point. This guy is saying, "Oh, but this is an opportunity. Think of the tools that we can train." You only started caring once people started noticing.
Yeah.
Like before that, you were happy to just take the money.
You think they aren't aware that this stuff is happening?
Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are. They're just not interested in talking about it, right? No, it's shut that down. I just censored Roblox, and that leads us beautifully into the next topic. So Rurikhan, you know about the Gothic remake, right?
I've heard about a Gothic remake. It looked pretty promising the first time that I've seen footage of it, but I've never really been like a huge Gothic fan, so I don't really have the nostalgia for it, but I'm sure that people that do have nostalgia for it are going to be chomping at the bit to jump into that remake.
Oh yeah, well, they would have. And I have to be honest, I still have interest in trying it out because it is Gothic. I would argue Gothic is probably the greatest RPG that has ever been made. Just because it was one of those games where it wasn't easy and it made no attempt to be easy. It was basically just, you're going to level and eventually you'll come back and you'll be able to kill these things. But for now, this level 1 boar is going to kick the living crap out of you. You're going to die multiple times. Most of the time you're going to run away because you can't fight these things yet.
You ever tried fighting a boar in real life?
No, I think you'd get your ass kicked.
The boar is going to impale you and then eat you slowly over the course of days.
I don't think it was a boar. It was like a minion or a zombie. I can't even remember what the first thing to. This was more than a decade ago.
I'm just thinking of like a boar charging at me. I'm fucking running away, bro. I ain't fighting that fucking thing.
Hell no. Those things are vicious, dude.
Yeah.
But okay, so what happened was we got some screenshots in the game. Now you guys won't be able to see it because we don't really do visuals on the podcast. But the game has this scene in a prison where the inmates have started to riot. And there's a whole bunch of story that goes into this. But suffice it to say, there's some, in the original, some ladies now in the prison that have, well, they're dressed incredibly provocative. Right? Very, very scantily clothed at that point. That has been changed completely. In the remake, these ladies don't even dress sexily as it used to be. They were looking incredibly sexy and appealing. They look like peasants now. Like the one has an apron on with this ugly looking dress thing on. So they've literally changed it to where the girls they look like normal peasants. Now, you might say to yourself, okay, that's kind of weird, but I'm sure they have a reason for it. Well, they did actually reply on Discord, and they said the following. We wish to make something very clear. We are right now being accused of pushing a political or social agenda on our game. We wish to assure you that we don't have any agenda of any kind. Anyone claiming otherwise is just purely wrong, as proven by our extensive catalog of over 150 published games on Steam alone. As if, I mean, EA published hundreds, or not hundreds, but tens of games.
Who sent
before
this
they
message?
went down?
Because they're talking about published games?
Yeah, this is the guys, the studio that's remaking it. I can't remember the name now.
No, wait. So the studio that is remaking this game has published 150 games? Because that sounds like a publisher, not a studio.
Yeah, but it's probably one of those studio publishing DOs. I would have to see
working on this
who
game?
makes this.
Gothic Remake Publisher.
Yeah, check that.
It's THQ Nordic, and then Gothic Remake Developer is Alchemia Interactive. So these are two separate studios. So THQ Nordic can say we're not pushing an agenda. That doesn't necessarily mean that Alchemia Interactive isn't pushing an agenda. There's the studio that's actually making the game, and then there's the people that are publishing the game, and they're two separate entities. So I'm assuming Nordic are the ones who said they're not doing it, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even look into who is making the game or who isn't, because it doesn't matter, right? It used to be that we would look at what were the games that this studio was famous for. But we have seen in recent years that no longer works. You look at Obsidian, for example. If you were to judge Obsidian based on the last game that they made, you would go, well, Outer Worlds was fantastic. But then comes Avowed, and it's a woke mess. And you just go, oh, one game is all it takes, right? Because all of these studios are going left so fast that it's impossible to go, well, you used to be good, and now you're not so good. Or you used to be good, so we'll trust you. The point more here is that you look at the images, and there's a clear attempt to change it, right? To make the characters no longer look anywhere near as they see. And you've seen the images, right?
Yes.
And they come out and they say 150 published games on Steam alone. We are focused on making the best possible Gothic game, and everything we do has a reason in the game that will be made clear once you play. But there won't be any form of censorship or effeminacy. Some characters have different roles, but the main theme and plot remains the same.
I've never heard that word.
They're not going to effeminate main or effeminate main. They're not going to make main more feminine in the game.
They're not going to make women more feminine.
At least that's my assumption. That's my assumption.
Okay,
let me just make sure.
That was so toxic.
Yeah. Effeminacy is the manifestation of feminine traits in a boy or a man.
Okay.
So they're saying they're not going to do this, but listen closely, because they lie in their own post. They say, but there won't be any form of censorship or effeminacy. Some characters have different roles, but the main theme and plot remains the same. Now, the reason I say that is the big lie. So the original creator of Gothic comes out with a post where he says, on behalf of the original dev team, and then it's the Godfather picture that says, look how they massacred my boy. That's the original creator.
See, when you know that there is a problem when the original creator disavows the adaptation that you're doing. Because when you are making something that has a source material, I think that the least that you can do is try to respect that source material as much as possible. At least that's just my opinion. And I think that changing the intent of what those characters are supposed to be is wrong.
I agree with you. So someone asked Marcus Carkier, can you confirm that the original creative intent of the dev team was for those characters to be extremely attractive and sexual because, well, they were essentially there as prostitutes? And he goes, absolutely. They were just eye candy sent down by the king to please the inmates who had taken over the prison. Of course it is misogynistic, but that was the whole point. Bottom line, we managed to create more interesting looking characters with around 200 polygons 25 years ago. And that's where that line now starts to make sense.
To me,
some characters have different roles, right? So where the girls were sent down as prostitutes, they're like, no, we changed those roles, but the main plot's the same.
It's like, to me, it doesn't make any sense to change it in that way when it's like, no, the original intent is for these characters to basically go and please the inmates. That's why they're dressed like this. Not to mention that it is very much in the art style of Gothic, the way in which you know, the whole goth girlfriend, etc., the memes exist for a reason, right? And so that's the whole point of those characters, and this is according to the original creator. I think it's just in very poor taste to change the intent behind it.
And you see, but this is sorry. I want to sort of link up with you here and explain one of the things that modern day writers completely miss, and this happens in so many video games. So their response here actually reveals their inability to understand the nuance of storytelling. Some characters have different roles. Okay, so what was the original intent and purpose of these girls being sent down to prison? They're prostitutes sent by the king in order to please the rioting inmates. What does this reveal about the king and the kingdom that he rules?
Exactly.
Very little respect for women. Women are a sexual object for the most part. Women are a currency. That's storytelling. That gives the player a deeper understanding of the king and the kingdom in this world. By changing that storyline, you have now removed a big chunk of what the story is. And how are you going to replace it? You're going to have some character mindlessly saying, of course, the king is a misogynist. Because you still want the player to know that the king is a misogynist, but you're not going to show it. You're instead just going to tell it to the player because the last thing we need is a woman dressing scantily. The only place that may happen is on OnlyFans, where girls sell their bodies for money. And there you call it empowerment, but in a video game, you call it exploitation.
To me, it's like, if you are doing a remake, you should keep it as faithful to the original material as possible. Yeah. And this is just like a huge change that I personally don't agree with, because you are taking creative liberties over something that you didn't really create. Now, apparently you're allowed to do that because the company that owns the IP is allowing you to do that, but that doesn't mean that it isn't wrong. And in my opinion,
and it doesn't mean that it doesn't.
And by the way, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to say on that front, if they got something as simple as this wrong, the storytelling that happens in the few seconds that you see these prostitutes being sent down from the king, what else did they get wrong? Because they were like, we can't have women like this. or we can't have these storylines. We can't make, you have storylines, for example, in movies, like olden movies, where maybe you have someone use the F word, right? So someone will say faggot in a movie.
Whoa!
And
you better censor that.
Yeah. No, I don't really care. Someone uses that word, right? And because I'm not using the word, I'm using the word in order to illustrate something. Or take something like American
Our
History
AI
X.
overlords don't care.
But take something like American History X, right? In that movie, you have a white guy saying the N-word repeatedly, right? Or we just spoke about Django Unchained. You have a white guy using the N-word repeatedly, okay? Now, you could make the argument that's a bad word, you're white, you're not allowed to say it. But in the context of this character,
absolutely,
that word does a hell of a lot more to convey the type of person you're dealing with than delivering a 25-minute monologue in order to explain the depths of depravity and evil this character possesses, right? By just using that word in front of black people in such a way that he couldn't even care about them being there, tells you everything you need to know about this character in one word. Right? That's the art of storytelling.
But it's uncomfortable, but that is the point. That is the point of, great storytelling sometimes goes to great lengths. And probably if somebody was trying to remake Django and they were not, Quentin Tarantino, obviously, they would be like, whoa, we can't have Leonardo DiCaprio saying the N-word. Like, oh my God, it's going to be real bad.
Yeah.
So it is most definitely a huge problem that we have reached in art form. And the thing about this is, like, you can think about this situation where, like, okay, but this is just like misogynistic fantasy, blah, blah, blah. We can do without it. Okay, so here's another thing. Let's say the king has a scene where he's torturing somebody very, very slowly. It's like he pulls out his entrails, which, by the way, was quite common at the time. Like, with one of those reaping things, the small scythes they use for the reaping. They would grab a sickle. That's what you call it. They would grab one of those, and then they would, like, stab the person in the gut, start pulling out their entrails with the sickle. This was very common, like, in medieval times. Absolutely. No question about it. So let's say you have a scene like that in the game where they're just like somebody slowly messing around with somebody's insides, yanking out their intestines and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, whoa, this is way too graphic for big 2025. How about we just have the king cut off their head? And it's like, no, that is a very, very different thing. You cut off the head, like, the person instantly dies, which doesn't paint the king as a complete insane sadist. See, that's the difference. And that is important for the storytelling and how you end up reacting to characters. Like, for instance, Game of Thrones, even though it was pretty bad in the last two seasons, as we all know, in the beginning seasons, everybody hated Joffrey. Literally everybody hated Joffrey. Why? Because he did some fucked up, heinous shit.
Yeah.
But guess what? You wouldn't have felt as strongly about that character if they hadn't portrayed the fucked up shit that the character had done. It's just that simple. That's the way that it goes, and that's part of storytelling. Recently, go ahead.
You see, I would say the thing that reveals Joffrey more than anything is what he does to Stark, his wife. What's her name again? Arya is the one that becomes the assassin.
I don't know. It's the one who's portrayed by Natalie Dormer. I forget what her name is.
Yeah,
yes,
I can't remember her name now. But the way he shames her in front of everyone reveals to you in that moment exactly what you are dealing with. The kind of person that you're dealing with. Someone who has no respect for women.
Oh, no, wait.
No respect for anyone other.
It's not Natalie Dormer. I was mistaking that. The one who becomes Joffrey's wife, isn't it? It's another one of the Starks, actually.
Yeah, I'm talking about because Arya is the one who becomes the assassin.
One. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember the sister, Arya's sister's name now. It's escaping me. But effectively, that one scene sums up the character beautifully. The audience now knows exactly who they're dealing with. And this is the same for a scene like this, where you have the king sending prostitutes down. the audience now immediately knows who they are dealing with. It's important for the story. Another great example is in World of Warcraft. In World of Warcraft, Alexstrasza has in her history this period where she is captured by the... I can't remember their name now. It's been years since I've actually covered... Well, it's been more than a year since I've covered WoW news. But it's one of the Orc clans, the Dragon Riders, I think it's called. But they capture her, and they force her to breed. And they corrupt her eggs through force, right? They make them into their own dragons that they ride around with. So they're effectively graping her forcefully against her will. Now, there was this big hoo-ha because Blizzard tried to put that quest into the game, where players would actually help keep Alexstrasza there so that she can be forcefully bred. And a lot of people are like, this needs to change. You need to remove this from the lore. This is sickening. This is misogynistic. And it's like, no.
That's storytelling.
That one story. Yeah, but that one story reveals so much about Alexstrasza's love for life. Because after she gets free, she doesn't suddenly hate all orcs. She doesn't suddenly try to kill all of orc kind. This is still life. And she still wants to protect life. No, she shouldn't. And she still wants to protect life.
Kill all the greenskins.
So yes, the story is bad, but it also reveals an element of the character that, absent that story, you would need to say to the audience what this character is all about. And that's not storytelling.
The story is evil.
Yeah, and it's meant to be evil because it helps you contrast the good.
There's a difference between evil and bad.
Yeah, well, you get what I mean, right?
Yes.
Because it is evil, but it's also a story. So, but at the end of the day, it's that contrast between the evil that's happening on this side and the good that's happening this that creates for us a moral quandary that allows us to get deeper into the story. That's the point I'm trying to make.
It's taking liberties with art, like the whole situation in Gothic. It's taking liberties with art that completely changes the story that is told with that art. So an example that I have, which is Demon Souls. Demon Souls got a remake, which I am still a big fan of Demon Souls. I still greatly enjoyed playing the remake because usually I play the Souls games much more for gameplay than necessary for lore. A lot of people, though, play those games for lore and are acutely more aware of, different aspects of the lore. And one example that was presented to me that really changed my mind when it came to the remake of Demon Souls was there's a character who is the Fool's Idol, who is a boss that you fight, and it's a lady. And the idea is that this lady came through and fooled everybody into worshiping her as a deity. At least that's kind of like my understanding. I might be misremembering some aspects of the lore. I've never been a huge lore buff when it comes to the Soul series. I just really, really like the gameplay. But basically, this is a boss, and supposedly this lady fooled everybody into worshiping her, right? And so the thing about that is she did so by presenting herself as like one of the prettiest women that you've ever seen. She was supposed to be very, very pretty. That was kind of the intent.
Yeah.
In the remaster, in the remake, they changed her face. And it's not that she's ugly, but she looks evil. As in, you would never fool anyone with a face like that. She's got like evil, like, I'm evil.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So she's not ugly, but she's evil. And anybody would be able to see that she's evil with the differences that they've done to her face. That's not the only thing. Like, they've changed God knows how many different things that do shift the art of the game in ways that no longer convey the original feeling that was intended by it.
Yeah.
And that definitely shifted the way that I look at that remake. I don't hate it because, again, I like those games more for the gameplay than for the lore. But I can completely understand that there's a lot of people that like, no, I love the lore of these games, and they fucked with the lore of this because of taking artistic liberties that don't belong to them. So,
Yeah. I call it the infantilization of the audience, right? It's this idea that no, if I made the story, if I made this character beautiful, maybe people don't understand how evil the character is. So I have to make the character look evil so the viewer can understand that this is an evil character. It's like, why don't you just let the viewer understand what they're going to understand and you just make the game? Right? Stop trying to spoon feed your story straight into the brain of the audience. Let the audience walk away from the story with whatever the hell they picked up from it. Right? Because that's what creates the debates and the discussions and the whole sort of fun around video games. But, it's just one of those things that it's never going to end. It's never going to change. It is where we are now. But of course, in the Gothic sense, they're not done. As you can imagine, usually with all of this stuff, the next step, and this is what they've done, they are now banning and blocking and locking all threads that even try to discuss this on Steam. So the mods are overactive in their attempts to make sure that no one sees this. And of course, none of these guys have realized or learned yet. When you do this, you amplify the problem.
It's the Streisand effect, man. People still don't know about the Streisand effect. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. If you just allowed people to post and be angry and apologized immediately for it, you would not have this kind of backlash. But now, because you're pissing people off by trying to stop the conversation, you're just going to make it worse. And as we've seen, that old adage of there's no such thing as bad publicity doesn't hold. Ask Dragon Age the Veilguard about bad publicity, or Star Wars Outlaws about bad publicity, if you want to know if publicity can actually destroy your game.
There was a time where a lot of people thought that I had lied about something in regards to Dragon's Dogma 2. And never once did I stop anybody from commenting on it. I know that some comments got automatically filtered by YouTube, because you know how YouTube moderation bullshit is. But I did not manually censor anyone. And it got to a point that I was getting like hundreds of messages in that one video. And I just told people, look, just take your fucking pound of flesh. I said what I fucking said. It is what it is. And I never tried to tell. I just told people I didn't lie. And it eventually, some people realized, oh, actually, he didn't lie, because other people came out in my defense. But I was like, I didn't fucking lie. It's just that simple.
I think I remember the story you told me.
I said what I fucking said. Take your pound of flesh. I'm not stopping you from saying it or spreading it or doing whatever the fuck you want. Because if you try to silence it, that's when it's like, you're definitely guilty because you're trying to fucking hide it. And it's like, I don't have to hide it because I never did it. It's just that simple. Yeah. You can say what you want.
Well, usually the problem with trying to hide it is that now what you're doing is you're making people even angrier. Because now even people who maybe weren't angry about the original offense,
something a guilty
gets angry
person
about you trying to censor shit.
Yeah.
Right? And so that creates a whole new layer of anger. So the best thing you can do here is just take your hit. You know that you changed the story. You know that you tried to push a political and social agenda. Just admit it. Just be like, yeah, guys, we're lefties. We vote for Kamala Harris. We don't want this crap in our video game, and we're gonna remove it. No, I it sounds like I'm being derogatory, but I'm genuinely not. Just be open and honest about it. And then be like, guys, we understand that you guys want to be angry. We don't care. This is how we feel about it. We don't like the fact that girls were half naked in the original games. And so we made our changes. If you don't want to play it, don't play it. It's fine. But this is what it is. It's going to do just as much damage as what you're doing now. Because the first thing you shouldn't have done was make changes to a remake. That should have been that's the right thing to do. After you made changes to the remake, there are no more right things to do. There's only wrong things, but there's the honest wrong thing to do, and then there's whatever the hell this is. And this is going to have seriously negative consequences that I don't think you need to have. But, it is what it is. What are you going to do? I very quickly wanted to see here, because we have a couple of topics about Ubisoft. The first is super small, super sort of useless, because they make it sound like it's a hell of a lot worse than what it actually is, and it is kind of bad because Ubisoft effectively lied about game sales. They used money. Yeah.
I don't believe Ubisoft lying? No, you're lying.
Yeah.
You're the liar.
No. So auditors found that Ubisoft had improperly booked sales from a partnership as revenue under international financial reporting standards.
I'm sure that's a common mistake in large corporations.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So basically, let's just put it like this. This small little accounting error, it made them look better for investors?
Yeah, basically. And then
they would never do
like,
that.
Well, in this instance,
this is lie and slander, sir. We must use the word allegedly.
Yeah,
we're now liable.
So they did lie, but the biggest issue here was that the lies also helped them to get some loans, from what I can gather, right? And so what Ubisoft did in order to put to bed all of the massive fallout that was going to happen as a result of this, that, by the way, is why the earnings call results were delayed. That's why they delayed it for so long. Because they were trying to figure out how the hell do we fix this.
You remember how I said they would only delay it if they have good news, and they want people to be surprised when the good news comes out.
They do have good news. They're going to use the money that Tencent gave them to pay off the loans early because they owe something like 1 point something billion euro, but they'll be able to pay off, I think, 320 million euro early. And so investors were like, yay! And they had a 13% spike in shares. Like, shares grew by 13%.
Oh my God. So the basically the moral of the story is, if you're going to scam, you got to scam in the magnitude of millions, because then they can't come after you.
I mean, it's that old adage, right? If you owe the bank 1 million, that's your problem, right? But if you owe the bank 500 million, that's the bank's problem.
Yep. Now my problem, I'm not paying. Fuck you.
Yeah. So the more you owe the bank, the less of a problem it is for you. So Ubisoft. But what is interesting about this is it's usually a very bad sign when companies start to take investment money from one part of the business and paying off loans on the other side of the business. That's usually a very bad start, because it speaks to a financial constraint within the company. And very quickly what follows from there is a sort of pyramid scheme where you need the financial flow to come in from this side so that you can pay for the losses on the other side.
You just don't understand how creative the people are at Ubisoft, that they took some people from the creative development department and they put those people on the finance department, and now they're doing creative accounting. They're doing creative accounting.
Loving it. Yeah, it's very creative accounting. But I mean, they certainly didn't move the accountants into, well, maybe they did actually move the accountants into the creative departments, because Ubisoft also at the same time, after all of this. Now, I just need to preface this first by saying Ubisoft really is like the mother of all bad ideas. For those of you who don't know, the very first time that a studio head ever uttered the words "single player is dead," I actually think it was Yves Guillemot.
No, I think it was
Guillaume or whatever.
I think it was and Yves Guillemot went after it.
I think
EA were the first ones, and then Ubisoft followed suit. I'm pretty sure.
No, I might be wrong on this, so I won't argue too much. But ask him quickly who was first, Andrew Wilson or Yves Guillemot, because I think Yves Guillemot were the first to say the future is live service. Then Andrew Wilson said single player is dead, and then Yves also said single player is dead.
So,
if I remember correctly, that's the series of events that I remember.
I'm going to phrase the question as, I said who, but it should be which. Which was the studio to claim players weren't interested in single-player games first?
Imagine if it's some random studio that we've never even heard of. That was the studio who said it first.
It's tricky to pin down exactly who was the first studio to publicly claim players weren't interested in single-player games because the sentiment has kind of crept in and over time expressed a few different industry figures, but the earliest prominent and often cited instance seems to come from EA Games, or more precisely from its then label president, Frank Gibeau, back in 2010.
Wow, not even Andrew.
That guy was a jabroni. Frank Gibeau was more like Frank Jabroni. He said
did
that
you just
single
say 2010?
Yes, 2010.
Dude, that is much longer ago than I thought. Because Andrew Wilson said it's sometime around 2016, 2017. No, I mean, it's much longer ago. Like, I remember Andrew Wilson saying it about 2016, 2017. I didn't know that we're going back to, like, just after high school here. During what could still be considered the heyday of single-player games, Like, you still had great single-players.
And it pretty much in post Assassin's Creed 1 Ubisoft, they can't think of a single fucking original creative idea. Therefore, they have to copy Frank Jabroni's like, oh yeah, it's the problem is that the players don't want single player games. Those pesky players, those annoying bastards that give us money.
But the point stands, right? Ubisoft is sort of like the mother of all bad ideas. EA would be the father of all bad ideas. And together, these two studios just come up with all the bad ideas. Now, because Ubisoft was also one of the first to basically go all in on live service. Not just multiplayer, but live service. Even single-player live service games, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is a single-player live service game. Yeah.
Listen, I just wanted to bring up because, like, when you said EA is the father and Ubisoft is the mother, the first thing that came to my mind was the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. And imagine if these two had a baby. This is the comment that the drill sergeant would have. Son, I feel you've been cheated. The best part of you came down your mama's crack. What? Came out of the crack of your mama's ass and ended as a brown stain on the mattress. Something like that.
Something to that. Bullshit. You look like you can suck a golf ball through a watering hose.
You're not Private Snowball. You got a problem with that name, Private Snowball?
Sir, no, sir.
Sir, no, sir.
That movie is so good. So good. But, okay, so you have this whole... so Ubisoft goes all in on the live service games. Ubisoft then also decides to go all in on open world games. Ubisoft is also the first studio in the world to say, hey, we can make games by blueprint. We don't need to be creative. We can just have a blueprint and we'll just do every game by the same blueprint. Ubisoft truly is the mother of all bad ideas in the gaming industry. So by preferencing this, I want you all to understand that Eves has another bad idea.
You mean the best idea?
Yeah, he's got the best idea right now. But this time...
Wait, what's his last name?
Guillermo.
Damn you!
Eves is going all in on ladies and gentlemen, you guessed it. AI.
No.
Yeah. They're going all in.
They're like implementing it across the board in Ubisoft. They're also doing the same thing in EA. They've even announced like a partnership. They're like, oh yeah, we're
mother and father of bad ideas. Mother and father of bad ideas.
Every single time. The funny thing is, I was reading about some of this, and this is apparently they were able to connect the Snowdrop. Is it Snowdrop? What's the engine called? I'm pretty sure it's Snowdrop. It was the engine that was made for The Division. And
I can't remember.
They've integrated that engine with Gemini. the AI from Google, and so they trained a couple of characters. So basically, what I'm assuming is they've done the prompts to what these characters are supposed to say. They wrote probably like a big backstory for them or something. And you now have conversations with these two characters, and you can instruct them to like, go over there, do this thing, blah, blah, blah. And it just kind of works because now you have AI recognition. But whereas you might be like, well, isn't that a good thing? We can now talk to these characters and all of that. And it's like, yeah, but the thing to me is that also now means that these games have to be always online because it's fully integrated with Gemini. You can't play these games offline at all. Not to mention, if for any particular reason, I don't know if people are aware of this, but Google, they're usually the first ones to cancel out stuff that doesn't work. So if at some point Gemini goes belly up, is like all this shit just fucking goes away to the graveyard of literally, well, maybe not literally, but at least hundreds. I was going to say literally thousands, but at least hundreds. I don't know if it's thousands, but hundreds of Google products that went by the wayside that they were just like, yup.
And that's just the ones we know of. It's probably thousands of ones we don't know of. That just, the guy had a job, he arrived the next morning and he had no job.
And it's just like, I don't necessarily see that as a good integration. And personally, I would prefer to have, an actual crafted story. You can still be able to give them instructions and shit like that. Sure, fine. Figure out a way to do that. But like, I prefer a crafted story and interactions that are meaningful rather than fucking, let's just chat GPT up this fucking robot. Okay, that's great.
So here's what I don't understand with this, right? I want AI when it comes to character designs, for NPCs, not for like important characters. I don't mind AI being used there. I even told you I wouldn't mind AI being used for like throwaway lines, like someone going, "Excuse me," or "Hey, watch out," right? So that it doesn't become repetitive. You can give the AI a bit of freedom to come up with all sorts of insults to throw at you if you run into them, just to make it a bit funny. And maybe you can even have a psycho mode for players who really want the AI to be unhinged when you run into them on the streets, right? So you can have some fun with that if you really wanted to. But where I draw the line is on the actual characters that matter. I don't want to know. Like, I don't want to have a conversation with the AI. I just want the story, as the writers of the story envisioned the story to be told. Like, I don't want to be able to tell this character, "Oh yeah, it was a long journey. How are you feeling today?" Who gives a shit? What's the next part of the story? Like, what happens next? I don't understand this obsession with we should have characters that we can converse with in video games. To me, that feels like it will break the fourth wall.
I can't wait for Gemini to like break and just goes like, I can't process that prompt. So like you're having this deep, meaningful conversation with a character. The character's like, and then they killed my mother. Oh my God. And then you just ask it, "Oh man, that is so terrible. I'm really sorry." And you try to comfort. And then the character just goes like, "This interaction has not been processed."
Yeah. It's lovely. Lovely. I love it.
I can't wait for that. That's going to be the best. Or like, "Server timeout." Like having this deep, meaningful moment, and the character just goes like, "Server timeout."
Yeah, it just starts lagging. The servers are down. The AI is no longer working, and so it's just sort of standing there blankly looking at you.
Steam servers go down on. You're doing this on a Tuesday night. Steam servers go down. Your AI chatbot fucking dies. Game breaks.
Character just sort of goes into a T-pose.
He just goes like this. Oh my God. Yes.
But
be great.
I personally think this is sort of one of those things where you're doing more than what is required. No one asked for this. Games are already the greatest vehicle on earth to tell stories with. You don't need to screw around with that formula. It works. I don't need to be able to talk to the character in real time. I just need to be able to play the game. Right? That's all I care about. I want to be able to play the game. I already love the fact that games have come this far that we have choices in a lot of RPGs of what we can say. But guess what? I have played RPGs where you don't have choices. You're just seeing the game as it plays out. And that's also good. If the story is told well, I don't care whether I can make a choice or not. Just give me the story. I'm happy with either thing here. So I personally think it's useless. What scares me is listen to Guillemot. Listen to what... Actually, I should change his name. I should say Guillemot. I'm trying to be too French. Excuse me. So, Avis Guillemot had the following to say.
Just say Avis.
We are making... Yeah, it's Avis. Avis Guillemot.
If you're going to at least pronounce the Y, it should be wives. Wives.
Well, I'm doing it in Afrikaans pronunciation. Avis. Because Y is A in Afrikaans. But I can do Wyvis Guillemot. Okay,
yes,
so
there you go.
as Wyvis Guillemot said here, we are making great strides in applying Gen AI. So this is generative AI. For those of you who don't know, that's all that nonsense slop you see on X and on YouTube. That's generative AI. To high-value use cases that bring tangible benefits to our players and teams. This has nothing to do with players or teams. Just FYI. You are not important in this. This has a lot of benefit and value to their bottom line, their bank account. Yeah. It's as big of a revolution for our industry as the shift to 3D. And we have everything to lead on this front.
Now, from one terrible example of AI usage to an actual good example of AI usage, we have Rebel Wolves Studio, who is also using AI in the development of Blood of the Dawnwalker. Now, the way they're using AI, though, is because they wanted to test different lines with their characters before they actually did the recordings. Because, you have to do recordings, then you have to figure out which lines work, and then you have to go do it again. So what they're doing is they're using AI to voice some of these characters before they actually have the actors come in, which optimizes the time that they spend with the actors. At least that's kind of my understanding. The quote that we have here is...
Amazing use.
Yeah. We used AI for voices during the testing period of time before the recordings, because my experience from previous projects was that you understand a lot more when you hear the voices, and we wanted to have it as soon as possible to test the game and iterate on it. And then when we decided the story was great and it worked, we started the proper recordings with the actors. This is the use of AI we had in our company, and I think that's quite reasonable, which I actually agree. I think that's fine.
I mean,
you want to test it out. You get an idea of what it sounds like when a character is, because sometimes you write something on paper, but then when the character actually says it, it sounds stupid when it's said.
Yeah.
Because certain things work when read, not when they're said. So that way they get
in the same way certain things that are said doesn't work when read.
Exactly. So that way they get to hear it and they're like, okay, that line didn't really land. Let's change it to this. And then eventually when they got the actors in to record, they're like, no, we want you to say this. Here's the intonation that we want. We want your character to be desperate. It's easier to direct actors when you know exactly what you're doing. Because otherwise you have somebody who wrote something and then, the director is trying to get them to convey the thing and it doesn't work. So I think that's actually a good idea. It optimizes the process of the actors.
I would put this in line with something like the altars, right? If you remember that story we had a while ago about the altars that was accused of using AI in order to make some of the background.
They had some artwork that was left over that they forgot to change or whatever.
Yeah, but the whole point of the AI was in early development, in order to get a feel for what these rooms would feel like, what the mood of the rooms have to be like, they just used AI and said, make the room, right? So that we don't have to waste time. We can actually get to working on what kind of interactions do we want in this room. Because if you actually play the altars where the interactions take place are super important because it's part of the whole thing is just one big storytelling experience. And that's a good use of AI. things that take valuable time away from developers, right? That they would usually have to spend just in order to populate something can now be done by AI so that the developers can actually get a sense of what they're working with. And now the guys that are making the backgrounds and are making the art have more time to actually make the proper art rather than first having to do a bunch of rough sketches just so they can get something in the game and then sort of start working on the refinement of it. So in that sense, I love AI. Anywhere AI can make it easier for developers to spend more time on the stuff that we actually care about, I'm okay with. Give that shit to the AI, let the AI run with it, right? I don't even care. What I'm not okay with, and this is, I can guarantee you that it's Ubisoft. It's absolutely what Ubisoft is going to do.
Oh,
Ubisoft, from day one, their thinking was, how many people can we fire by switching to AI?
And now, going from the misuse of AI in video game development to the good example of using AI in video game development to the bad example of using AI mixed with Windows 11 to fuck up your frame rate. Because that is what Microsoft is doing, obviously. So what is happening right now is there's a set of PCs. Usually these are PCs that are like laptops and stuff like that, which they're called, is it Copilot Plus or Copilot
some nonsense like that.
I don't know, but basically it is some versions of computers, they already have like Copilot fully integrated, and they are now rolling out a feature which is called Recall. So what Recall does is basically allows the AI to spy on what you're doing so that you can then ask it, hey, didn't I do this thing earlier? And the AI goes, yeah, you did. I know what you did. It's right over here in this folder. I found it for you. So this feature that is supposedly going to be very useful, and it's totally not just forwarding those pictures of your desktop straight to Microsoft. It's totally not doing that, okay? Because obviously Microsoft wouldn't do that. That feature is basically taking screenshots.
Very trustworthy company, by the way.
Of course, they totally haven't shut down God knows how many gaming studios. They totally aren't inflating the prices of almost everything due to the fact that they've done a bad deal with Activision Blizzard. No, they're totally not fucking everything up, okay?
No, but, great company, actually.
Fantastic. So basically, this particular feature is taking multiple screenshots of pretty much almost everything that you do on your computer.
I love that. Please,
yeah. So that the AI can... So that the AI can help you. That's why it's doing it, so that the AI can help you figure it out. And users have realized that actually this is really bad. This is causing us to have performance issues. By the way, they tested this on a Ryzen 7 9800X 3D processor with an NVIDIA
not a weak processor.
With an NVIDIA 5090.
Wow.
But then again, they also chose... They chose a really good game to test this on, which is Assassin's Creed Shadows, and the frames dropped between 33% to 50%. So the frames dropped a lot.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's now screenshotting because the AI needs to see what you're doing in Assassin's Creed fucking Shadows. Other games, apparently, Counter-Strike 2 has also been affected, which NVIDIA is rolling out hot fixes or whatever. But basically, I've got some good news for you, okay? If you have one of these Copilot computers, you can actually go...
Throw it in the trash.
PC settings. No, I mean, you can do that too. But you can go to your PC settings. Now I would advise users to check this just in case your computer happens to be Copilot plus whatever the fuck. You go to the settings, and then in settings, there's a setting there for privacy and security. And in there should be a setting, if your computer has this feature, called Recall and Screenshots. And you want to go in there and disable that shit, and hopefully that will fix your frame rate issues that you might be experiencing from your computer spying on you and sending all of your data to Microsoft.
Yeah, if I may just say, if that kind of feature became local, which of course it won't, because the size of this feature would be insane, right? So it has to be online. I could see a use case for it. As things currently stand, I do not agree with it because all of your data is being sent over to Microsoft. Now, I ask you guys, Microsoft is taking screenshots here. What happens if you accidentally, at that moment that it's taking a screenshot, have one of your passwords open? Right? Now, you might say to yourself, yeah, but what's Microsoft going to do with my password? Not Microsoft. Right? I'm not even worried about Microsoft in this instance. We know that every single year, giant corporations get hacked. Every single year. There's some kind of hack that takes place. What will the hackers do with your password? Imagine it's your password to your bank, right? Or imagine it's your password to your kids or whatever, right? It's the same set of password, and now suddenly Microsoft has it in their system. And I guarantee you, in spite of what Microsoft says in their terms of service, they're keeping it.
Yep.
That's theirs
100%.
now.
Yep.
Even if you say I don't agree, they'll just go, okay, yeah, cool. No, yeah,
that's
no,
lovely
we
that you don't agree. Yeah, we removed it. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah. It's like, for instance, to give you an idea, this is not Microsoft, but this is also just, I deleted my Instagram account. I deleted my Facebook account because there were some really strange fucking people on there that started fucking stalking my family and shit. And I was like, oh no, we're not having any of that. I deleted both of those accounts. And so I find it interesting that you can still, and by the way, when I deleted it, I specifically said delete every single thing about this account. You can still find my Instagram account. Not only that, but every other month I receive an email from Instagram telling me that it's so easy to jump back in. And it's like, I can't even log in right now. I specifically asked you to delete my account and remove everything, and you didn't do that. So it's like, if none of these people are doing it, you think Microsoft is doing it? Nobody's getting rid of your data. Nobody gives a fuck.
No, I mean, I just, this should not be allowed. And people should not give up their freedom that quickly and that easily. And their privacy, really. It's not even freedom, it's privacy. It still matters. But okay, so we'll end on a good news story.
Yeah.
Stranding 2, which is actually super early, if I'm not mistaken. Like, usually it takes a year before you get the green light for releases like this.
This is coming to us from Eurogamer, which says that Death Stranding 2 might be coming to PC a little bit quicker than expected because it has been rated by the ESRB, which suggests that it will be releasing soon. This will come as a little surprise, considering that the first Death Stranding also came to PC. The original PS4 release was November 2019, with PC following 8 months later in July 2020. Then Director's Cut came to PS5 in 2021, followed by PC in March 2022. So Death Stranding 2 released on PS5 exclusively in July this year, so this ESRB rating 5 months later would suggest a PC release is coming a little quicker this time. Maybe it'll be announced at the Game Awards. Who knows?
So I think there's a reason why it's coming quicker, and it's part of a massive, bigger move.
Is
and
it a
as always,
thing?
No. I think
didn't get it.
So I remember during the week
you didn't get it, bro. Coming quicker.
Oh yeah,
premature.
Sorry, I was literally. Yeah, I know, but I was
acknowledge
thinking.
my fucking innuendo.
That's funny.
Oh, God.
But sorry, I heard what you said, but I didn't register it because I'm trying to remember who said it. Because during the week I read this article and I should have saved it because this would have actually been a really cool thing to talk about. But during the week I read this article from one of the developers, like one of the big boys at one of these studios, that effectively said after decades of confusion as to which platform was going to be the surviving platform, PC has now emerged as the king of them all, and PC appears to be the the platform that is going to just be the next platform. And according to this guy, it's not just in terms of sales, although PC now does sort of outrank all consoles, but it's also the advent of things like the Steam Cube, right? That's bringing PC even cheaper to the market.
Problem. There's actually another problem right now, which is because of the advent of AI, there's now RAM shortages. And RAM shortages means that RAM price has skyrocketed again, which RAM has always been one of the more volatile prices in PC gaming. Like, it has these periods where it usually stays fairly reasonable, and then suddenly just like, poof, shoots up. Like right now, sticks of RAM are probably going through the roof. And I believe that there's also going to be problems with GPU shortages, again, because now it's being used for AI. And AI is going to be even more dangerous than the crypto boom that we had before. At least early reports suggest that. So I think we're in for a rough time right now when it comes to PC gaming. Hopefully not, but we'll see.
No, I do. But I think PC gaming is still going to be better off than console. Just because with a PC, most people, there's so many workarounds in terms of the type of RAM that you want to put in, the type of systems that you can build, and how long systems can last for. Whereas you don't really have that on console, right? So prices are going to be affected no matter what on a console. And so PC just does appear to be the future. And so I think even Sony has started to realize it doesn't make a lot of sense for them. Because, I mean, didn't we just a few weeks ago discuss the anger from a bunch of players because Sony announced a bunch of games and all of them are basically coming to PC?
It's more like actually, they're not coming to PlayStation. It's more like it's not coming to PlayStation. It's the new Ratchet and Clank game, which is going to be multiplayer mobile game, and the Horizon MMO, which is only coming
which
to
is also PC and mobile. Yeah. So it's sort of like even Sony is starting to realize, okay, you know what? Console is probably not where it's at. No, it's in the gaming space.
That's not why.
I think so.
It's just because it's NCSoft and they probably don't even know how to do all that many stuff in console. And Sony just didn't give a fuck. They're like, yeah, sure, just release that slop on mobile and PC. We'll figure it out later.
My personal opinion, as you know, is that I think console is going to go the way of the dodo. But the problem with console is, yes, it's cheaper, but it does so little compared to what you can do on a PC. And now that you have things like the Steam Cube, you have things like the handhelds that are basically just little pocket PCs. You have all the functionality that a normal PC would give you, plus the power and the gameplay elements that you would get from a PC. And sometimes on par or better than what the console can give. Right? So it's extra for basically the same price. So yeah, from my perspective, console is just at this point in this weird position where what it once had as its advantage is no longer its advantage, and what was once not really that big of a problem because of its advantage is now its biggest problem. Microsoft sort of saw the writing on the wall when I don't know if you remember, was it the 360? Where Microsoft wanted to turn it into a home entertainment system. And they completely bombed.
The Xbox One.
Which one was it? The Xbox One. Yeah, their idea was we're going to make it a home entertainment system. And it completely bombed, right? Because people were just like, don't care about that. I just want to play games. But Microsoft was a little ahead of the curve. Now, it is sort of like, if you're just going to be a place to play games, what's the purpose of someone buying the console if they could buy the Steam Deck or they could buy the Steam Cube? They're still going to be able to play the games.
Or in the case of Microsoft, just buy a smart TV, play it on the cloud.
Yeah. So what's the point of your console? So I genuinely think that there's going to be... It's exciting. I'm not saying that Sony is going to go away. What's exciting is what these companies will have to plan for in the future. Because usually this kind of stuff leads to massive innovation. Because you're forced to innovate. You have to come up with something new. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think that's everything we have.
Yep.
Yeah, that's our story. That's our episode for the week. Ladies and gentlemen, we're probably going to have next week still, and then when's the Game Awards?
Game Awards is the 12th, I think.
The 12th. So we'll have one more episode after the Game Awards to discuss the Game Awards, and then we'll go on Christmas break for this podcast. Because usually after the Game Awards, not a lot happens in the gaming industry. But we'll keep an eye on it anyways, right? So if there's some major breaking story, then we can do like an emergency episode where we discuss whatever the hell the major breakaway story is.
I do just want to point out here at the tail end of the show, we hope you guys enjoyed your Thanksgiving. Those of you who do celebrate it, which there's probably quite a few of you in the audience. So happy Thanksgiving, boys and girls.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving. And also a massive shout out and thank you to all of you who continuously watch. And hold on. I do actually, dude, say some stuff just to sort of hold us over. Because I have to give a massive shout out to people here.
I love this. I love how he's like, oh man, you got to say things. Yeah, so this week, guys, I've actually been playing Kill Team by myself because I haven't been able to go to my friend's house. And I've been testing out the Canoptic Circle, and they are vicious, dude. You know, those little Necron dudes, they will mess you up, which has been quite interesting. I've been really getting into this tabletop stuff. That's kind of like been holding my attention quite a bit. Coming up on December, I have a couple of updates that I'm going to be looking forward to playing as well. So on the 4th, we are getting the Night Rain DLC, which is going to include 2 new Nightfarers as well as some new Shifting Earth events, which don't happen if you happen to be doing Deep of Night for whatever reason. I know that people keep telling me, actually, Rurikhan, I do Deep of Night all the time. I get Shifting Earth events all the time. I never get them, so I don't know what happens with those. There's also new bosses. Then on the 12th, I'm not done yet now. Fuck you, dude. On the 12th, we're going to have the Game Awards, and then there's going to be a new update for PoE 2, which is going to bring new classes as well as, more stuff in the skill tree and whatnot, probably new weapons. And then on the 16th, we're going to get Gogmazios in Monster Hunter Wilds, coupled together with a 9-star Rathalos and some more updates to the endgame. And that is the Rurikhan moment. See, you tell me to talk, and that's just how it goes, baby. It just flows naturally.
And I appreciate you. But now I want to give a big shout out to members of our community. The first is Foreign User. Foreign User gave $2 super thanks on the last episode. And he says, donating before I hear something I disagree with. We appreciate it.
That's smart. That's smart. The problem is then you can regret it later. So you got to be careful with that. Buyer's remorse.
He did reply and he said, just messing around, appreciate the show. And then also a massive shout out to Piotr Boxon. Or Peter.
Piotr. No, it's Piotr. It's Polish.
Piotr.
Yeah, Piotr. It's Polish.
Piotr.
Oh wait, no,
Boxon.
you read as Peter, actually, I think. Somebody told me that once. I think you read that as Peter in Polish. I don't actually know. Whatever. Yeah.
Okay, let us know, please. But also for your $2, you have my sword and my $2. Very much love you. Thank you so much, sir.
I think you said something about people donating $2 in one of the episodes, and that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I imagine, because, some people just gave $2, and I really appreciate you guys for that. It really goes a long way to supporting the podcast. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is it from us, from myself and Rurikhan. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and we'll see all of you in the next one. Peace.